Can I start by asking for your reaction to what happened in Venezuela?
Well, Happy New Year to you, first of all, Andrew. And I'm obviously deeply concerned by what's happened in Venezuela. I carry no candle for Nicolás Maduro. His regime was authoritarian and it had no legitimacy. But having looked very carefully at what has happened over the weekend, I think it's vital that in all these circumstances, the international rules-based system is respected. And I cannot, having listened to what the United States government and the United States president have said about the intervention in Venezuela, I can't persuade myself or be convinced that the international rules-based system has been respected. And that's a matter of the deepest of concern.
Do you think the international rules-based system actually exists any longer?
I think it has existed, Andrew, and I think it's been an absolutely significant asset for us all in the post-war period. The post-war period has been far from perfect. It's had many, many imperfections, but I think it's had fewer imperfections than it could have had the international rules-based system not been present. But I do worry, and I share the concerns that were expressed by the United Nations Secretary-General over the weekend, that a very dangerous precedent has been created by the intervention by the United States in Venezuela over the weekend. And I think the moment and the necessity right now is for the international community to recognise just the dangers that it faces because of the decline in adherence to the rules-based system, of the need to reassert that rules-based system to protect the stability that we've all enjoyed in the post-war period.
But it's a moment to look around us without any illusions at all. And I wonder what you feel about the possibility, which Trump has been fairly explicit about now, of the Americans now trying to take over Greenland.
Like, I'm completely and totally hostile to that. I agree with the words the Prime Minister said earlier on today. I think the Prime Minister couldn't have been clearer that the situation in Greenland, the governance of Greenland is a matter for Greenland and their relationship with Denmark. And it is just inconceivable that there is any basis upon which the United States could pursue any ambitions in relation to Greenland.
Because, your great personal ambition would be to have an independent Scotland. And if you succeed, let's be clear, Scotland wouldn't be a very big country, just as Denmark isn't a very big country. Is the world that Donald Trump is reshaping at the moment not really, really dangerous for the smaller countries?
I don't think so, Andrew, because of the collaborative and cooperative arrangements that exist within the world, and particularly in Europe. And as you will appreciate, my politics, yes, they are about independence for Scotland, but they're also about collaboration and participation in the European Union. And I lead a country that voted to remain in the European Union, saw the benefits of European Union membership, and as an independent country would want to pursue membership of the European Union for all of the collaboration and the cooperation and the solidarity that comes from that. But it's a voluntary cooperation. It's a recognition of shared interest, shared values, shared outlook, and I suppose, in the current context, a shared approach to dealing with the threats that we all face. And I would certainly want to see us cooperating in that way with other European countries as part of the European Union and also as part of NATO. But of course, the NATO situation is thrown into some degree of uncertainty by the talk there has been about the approach of the United States towards Greenland.
Well, do you think, I'm sorry to jump in there, but do you think if, as it were, NATO was divided between Europe on the one hand, backing Denmark, and the United States on the other, that could be the end of NATO?
Well, it obviously raises that particular danger. But I think for me, what I've always believed is that there's been a foundation, a value in the partnership with the United States through NATO. I think it's been a strong advantage and remains a strong advantage for us in the future.
Right.
But I think we've also got to be cognizant of the importance of deep European collaboration and cooperation. And that's one of the big mistakes that was made around Brexit, with which we are saddled with its implications.
Sure. Let me turn to Scottish politics directly, because this is going to be a huge year for you and, of course, for Scotland. If the SNP does very well and wins a decent majority in the elections in May, are you convinced that you will be able to get a referendum out of the Labour government in London?
Yes, because there's fundamentally a democratic issue at stake here, which is the right of the people of Scotland to determine their own future. When we had that opportunity to go through that process, when the people of Scotland emphatically made it the case that they wanted that to happen in 2011, when they elected an SNP majority into the Scottish Parliament. And the approach I'm taking to these elections is that we've got to ask the people of Scotland for that emphatic vote to make sure this happens.
But we both know that the likely response from Keir Starmer is an absolute no, as previous governments have given as well. They'll say it was a once-in-a-generation referendum, first time round, we're not going back there. If and when that happens, what do you do?
I think a lot of things have changed since then, Andrew. Obviously, by the time we get to 2030, within the lifetime of the next Scottish Parliament, about a quarter of those eligible to vote in any independence referendum were not able to vote in the one in 2014. So I think the argument about once in a generation is actually eclipsed by that very simple change, that the population makeup of Scotland has changed. And if there's a democratic aspiration for Scotland to decide her own constitutional future, I don't see how it's in the scope or the gift of a UK Prime Minister or a UK government to resist that.
Well, this is going to be something I'm sure we're talking about a lot more as the year progresses, but it's a very, very big day, and we've run out of time for now. John Swinney, thank you so much for talking to LBC.